Welcome back. So right now we have this beautiful code now that can do a calculation locally, but that's really not what we're aiming for, right? We've made, in the last lesson, we've made a REST API here, so I'll just write here, we have a REST API here on the backend, right? So this is our backend server that I'm trying to represent right here, and in there we had a customer object, so we had something that represented a customer in C#, right? And that customer had a first name, a last name, and an address. So we kind of figured out how to now, from a REST API, convert all this information, the first name, last name, and the address, into JSON, right? So we converted it into JSON, looking something like this, so we could start sending this over the wire inside the body of our HTTP request. So think of this as kind of a recap. So we had the HTTP request, and we could then send that request with the REST API over the wire to whoever wanted it. And in our case, who wants it is going to be the Angular application over here is going to get that HTTP request, right? So he's going to get this guy, and now he needs to kind of unwrap it. So he needs to take the JSON now, this guy down here in the corner, and he needs to convert that into a Typescript customer object. But to do that, we need to have a Typescript customer object. So that's what we're going to build now. We're going to build a representation in Typescript of the C# object we have over here. Okay, so let's try and do that. Let's jump into the code right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to create, first of all, I'm going to create a new folder here just to make this simple. So right-clicking, saying new folder or directory, and that's going to be called customers. So just to kind of have an area for it on its own for the customers. That's kind of my goal here. There's a lot of ways to set up the folders. You can go and read a lot of posts about that. There are different discussions about what's the right way and wrong way. I'm going to pick this way, that I have a folder per business entity, kind of, right? So this is the customer area. Inside the customer area, I'm going to create a new file, and the file is just going to be called customer TS. That's kind of just the TS for my customer class, right? Oh, I should lowercase this, by the way. There we go. So remember, it's lowercase, not uppercase. I'm going to add it to Git. That's fine. And then inside the customer folder right here, and again, I made another mistake. You should use lowercase. This is because I just worked with the .NET Core framework, and I want to do everything uppercase, but it's really lowercase here, not uppercase when you're doing these things. So now we have a customer file, and all you have to do to work with a new class here is do an export class and then the name of the class, and it's an uppercase customer, right, for the class name. So these uppercase, lowercase, you just have to get used to it. And the errors right here, that's lint explaining to me, Lars, you should probably add a space here. Lars, you should probably end with a new line. Lars, you should probably add some information in here. Now, what does a customer need? Well, he needs a first name. So first name, right? That's the first thing, and that should be a string. And here we actually have a way for defining the types. Notice I'm not defining a value right here, I'm actually defining the type, right? Because I'm putting in a colon instead of an equal sign. Normally we would do it like this, we would say string equals and then put in something here. But now I'm just defining the type. A string, the type of string, that should be first name, and first name needs to be spelled right. There we go. Then we're making another one. We're having last name as well, like this, and that's also going to be a string. And then we have the addresses, and let's just, for simplicity, just keep those out of the way for now. Let's just start out with a very basic object right here, and then we'll add the addresses later on as lists. Right? So now we kind of created, over here now we created, let me just change the color. Over here now we kind of created something new now. We created so that we can actually start working with a customer on the client side, and we'll do that in the next lesson. But he's still just a representation of what we have over here, what we want from a customer over here, and all we're doing is we're converting this JSON later into actually this customer as we progress. So let's continue. Now we have a customer object we can work with. See you in the next lesson.